Mr. Platinum Man 1989, and this video is going to be about TNA Lockdown, TNA Wrestling's upcoming pay-per-view. Now, let me start off by talking about the main event. There has not been a main event announced, and I think this is kind of hurting the pay-per-view. We have 2 more episodes, I believe, before the pay-per-view actually airs, and we don't know what the main event is. Now, they're building towards a 3-way between Sting, Sting, Rob Van Dam, and Mr. Anderson. And I think this will work great, except that I want it to be announced already. I don't want them to continue to do this and then the Thursday before lockdown, then they announce it. They need to come out this Thursday or tonight's taping at the beginning of the show and announce that after numerous attempts at finding a number 1 contender, they have decided that Rob Van Dam and Mr. Anderson will face Sting in a 3-way for the belt. Now, there's a couple reasons why this would be a good move. Number 1, it could set up a potential Anderson versus Sting fight for a sacrifice, a one-on-one match, if Sting was to, assuming Sting continues as champion, and then whoever wins, whoever's the champion at Slammiversary could lose it in a hopefully return of the King of the Mountain. But so yeah, it would set up the Anderson Sting feud, which has been getting a lot of build-up. Then it will also be the first 3-way as a main event for Lockdown in, I think, forever. We have seen Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe, Sting versus Mick Foley, AJ versus Pope, defending the world belt. This will be a nice mix of things, a 3-way in a cage. And number 3, of course, because the build-up's already there. Now, if they were to announce Anderson is going to be the number 1 contender, then there was no point in building all of this up, this whole 3-way angle. Now, that's the main event. I think it should be a 3-way, and I think they should announce it as soon as possible, because all they're doing is wasting time. And TNA kind of has a problem of announcing big matches the Thursday before the actual pay-per-view, and I think that's going to do nothing for actual pay-per-view buys. Not that pay-per-view buys are even important these days, because most people are streaming and hurting that anyways. But it's just better for the pay-per-view. Now, to talk about the undercard, I believe Mickie James is facing Madison Rayne. Now, Madison Rayne is a knockout that when she first debuted, she played the little henchman role with the beautiful people, and since then she has come a long way. And at first, when they had the belt on her and had her beating people like Roxy and getting them fired, I was kind of disappointed because I wasn't that big of a fan of Madison Rayne as a singles woman champion, because I was so used to her being in Beautiful People and all that stuff. But since then, she has really established herself as a great female heel. Great. And you really feel that presence, like in the last Impact when she just walked out with the belt and she was just grilling Mickie James. She didn't look like a fool. She didn't come out complaining, pointing like a little ridiculous rat, which is the way that most women champions are booked sometimes. She just came out, kept her cool, and just grilled the ish out of Mickie James. So this is now a fight that I want to see, a match that I want to see, and hopefully Mickie James comes out victorious, because it would be a nice thing to have her win the belt at the big pay-per-view Lockdown. Now, let's see. We have Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett. This is a match that people wanted to see at Lockdown since, I believe, 2009. A lot of us thought that it was going to be part 3 of their series of matches, but it didn't happen, of course. Shortly after that the whole scandal came out, and etc. And since he's been brought back feuding with Kurt Angle, since he came back, and since this feud came back and started, I don't think fans have been behind this so much due to all the gimmicks with the marriage and the kids and custody and all this other stuff. So this is TNA's opportunity to gain the fans that lost interest back into the storyline. Fans like me, I lost interest in the storyline with all the gimmicks and stuff like that, which I'm not saying was a bad choice, But now they have the opportunity to go out there and try to steal the show. Go out there, put all the crap, all the little games and shit behind them, and just put on a match of the year contender, because they have it in them. They have had these kind of high caliber matches in early 2009 and late 2008, and the story is already there. They just need to have to actually put it out there. And I don't think if Kurt Angle was to win on Lockdown, it should be the end of this feud, because the feud needs two parties to be going back and forth, not just one to come out victorious at the end and automatically outweighs all the time that he got his ass kicked during the beginning of the feud. Like I said, go out there and steal the show. Now, Lethal Lockdown looks like it's going to be Bully Ray, Matt Hardy, Gunther, and Murphy, I believe. I can't even remember right now. Against the Remaining Fortune. The reason I say the Remaining Fortune is because AJ is currently selling an injury. Now, the spot that set up this injury, the big power bomb from the Titantron, was a beautiful spot. It looked great on TV. But my thing is that I don't know if AJ's injured. If he is injured, disregard everything I'm about to say. If he's not, I don't know why they will have AJ off Lockdown. AJ has been a big part of Lockdown since its inception. I believe in the first Lockdown he faced off against Abyss in a hell of a match that was a number one contenders match. Next year he started doing the whole spot of the night thing, where he'll try to steal the show with some crazy kind of spot. And basically every year since, he's had a big role. Now, if AJ was to miss this year's Lockdown, it kind of feel weird, and it wouldn't be worth it to sell to make Bully Ray gain something from this. First of all, let me tell you my problems with Bully Ray. TNA is currently having a campaign to stop bullying in schools and bullying anywhere, basically. So why would they have this campaign saying to stop bullying, and then name one of their characters who they're now putting in the top storyline, Bully Ray? Yes, he may be heel, and it's giving the idea that he's bad, bullying's bad, etc., etc. But don't contradict yourself. Go one way or the other. Second of all, Bully Ray, I don't think most of us are excited to see Bully Ray in a singles picture talking about being a world heavyweight champion. There's something that feels kind of odd when you see Sting cutting a promo, then a Kurt Angle, and then Bully Ray mixed in there. I'm not saying Bully Ray hasn't earned his respect in this business, but I just think it's a little too late for a singles career push. And like I said, could you imagine Bully Ray versus Sting Bound for Glory? Anyways, now in the Lethal Lockdown match, I think he would fit perfectly there. He would fit great. Hopefully not as the leader. Hopefully Ric Flair is the leader. It's Team Flair. But he would fit perfectly there. Because even though it's a high match on the card, it's a hardcore match. It's just down. It's not a singles match, etc., etc. I just want AJ to be brought back into this Lethal Lockdown match. I want him to continue selling this injury, but make it in a way that he gains something out of it too. Like, let's say he'll come on Impact and he'll have a neck brace, and he'll talk about how for 8 years straight since TNA started, he's never been injured, this is that, blah blah blah, and he hasn't missed a match, and he's not going to miss a match now, and this, that. He's not going to step away from a fight. Have him take out the brace and have the rest of Fortune look like, hey, 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 AJ, what are you doing? And AJ get really heated and grab his neck. Like, I don't care, because the fact is, and just keep talking that promo, that heated promo, so it'll be like he's going into the match injured, so they could continue to sell that. But he's not backing away from a fight no matter how hurt he is, which would give him something to gain from all this. Now, that's just my opinion. If he is in fact injured behind the scenes, then disregard all of that. I heard some people talking about Motor City Machine Guns, that TNA is shitting on them again. I believe Alex Shelley is injured. I believe his shoulder is injured at the moment. So, don't be so fast to say that, to hate on all that. Now, with the X Division titles for the pay-per-view, some people were talking about having an escape match in the beginning, and that person would face Kazarian one-on-one. But they're probably going to take the route of having the escape match for the belt. But I would prefer to see an escape match to open the night, and then have that person face Kazarian one-on-one later on. Only because they just had a multi-man X Division match at Victory Road, so it will be a nice change of pace to see a one-on-one match on the actual card. Now, to quickly talk about Rob Terry, if you started watching TNA in 2007, 2008, basically we started watching in 2008 when British Invasion first formed, and I believe it was 2008 or it was early 2009. Either way, when Rob Terry first started wrestling for TNA, he was a huge brute. He didn't know what he was doing. He would almost injure everybody he gets in the ring with, and he just looked so out of place in the ring. Now, if you were to turn on the TV and see Rob Terry wrestling, and you never seen him wrestle before, and you're not some supermarket that thinks into everything, let's say a casual fan just watches it, they'll think, wow, this guy is huge. They'll see him wrestle, and he wouldn't be boring or uninteresting. So with that, I think Rob Terry has greatly improved since he first debuted it. Now, I'm not saying he's Wrestler of the Year, but I don't get pissed off seeing him in the ring. And another thing that adds to all this, to his new interest, or whatever you want to call it, this feud that he's been kind of having with Scott Steiner, I think that has really helped his character. A lot of people like turning on the TV and seeing a guy like Scott Steiner against a guy like Rob Terry. Scott Steiner has over 20 years in this business, if I'm right, and it's just epic to see him in the ring with somebody young, an up-and-comer. But like I said, just try to forget the old Rob Terry. I'm not saying he's the best wrestler of the world, but he is much better than when he first debuted it, and it's progress, and that's all that really matters. Now, some people continue to talk about what should happen to Jeff Hardy. I love the last thing that they did with Jeff Hardy, or Jeff Hardy related, where Sting passed the Jeff Hardy belt to Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan, he said this is all that's left of Jeff Hardy, and Hogan just threw it out the ring. This kind of opens an opportunity for Jeff Hardy to come back as face down the road, but that's only if he gets himself cleaned up and, gets his shit together. WrestleZone had a poll up talking about whether or not you think they should just suspend him, fire him, or do nothing at all. Or suspend him and get him help, something like that. I think that is exactly what should happen. I think he shouldn't be allowed to wrestle until until July, the latest, or June, like a 2-month suspension. And it might sound like a little over the top, but I just don't think they should let him go, because at the end of the day, Jeff Hardy is a huge, huge, huge talent when he shows up and actually gives it his all. So either bring him back as a face more down the road and building up to his return, or have him return and then have interviews about him saying about how destructive the Antichrist was, or bring him in as a heel and then have him away from Immortal and spiral down and then turn face. Mr. Platinum Man 1989 out. Peace.